Welcome to Entry Point Faith, where every week we discover fresh meaning in the world so you can find faith your way. This week's message is titled Heartbeat, A Walk with God, and your special guest speaker is Sean P. Neal. I remember walking down that long hallway, watching as people went in and out of the different rooms, and being able to walk by and see the people inside the rooms in the beds, some asleep, some awake because it was so early. And I remember having this very profound experience at that moment. Now, see, you rewind a few months earlier, back into February of 2022, this year, I was outside shoveling snow and realized that I was starting to get some pain up in this part of my chest while I was shoveling. Now, it was not really anything I took much note of because I thought, well, as I'm doing this action of shoveling, I'm probably straining my muscles up here. So I went up to the garage, I took a rest, started feeling better, and then I went back out. Now, a couple of weeks later, I was out walking in the snow and the same thing happened, except for this time I wasn't doing anything that moved this particular area of my body, and yet I was still feeling the pain. So it was a little odd, but once again I said, must be muscular, must be some pulled or strained muscle. So I let it go. This happened for about 2 months until it became so frequent and so persistent that I couldn't ignore it anymore. So I contacted a cardiologist. I went in to the office and the cardiologist said, look, one of two things are going to happen. We need to find out what this is. So you're either going to find out that this is something that needs addressed and we can take care of it, or you're going to find out that this is muscular and it's not heart related, and that's great too. So he recommended a cardiac cath procedure. Now, the cardiac cath procedure, if you're not familiar with it, pretty simple, relatively speaking, from a layman's point of view. But they put a camera up into your heart. Wait, that doesn't sound as simple. Anyway, they put a camera into your heart and they look around and see what kind of blockages you're having. And so as I was waking up from that procedure and the anesthesia, I saw my wife off to my right, and in front of me were a group of about 3 doctors, and they were all talking to themselves until they realized that I was waking up. And that's when they told me that they had discovered during the procedure a 95% blockage in what they called the widowmaker artery. I can tell you, you don't have to be a med school graduate to understand that widowmaker artery is probably not the most positive thing you want to hear. They said that this was not something that could be treated by medicine. It was too calcified. And the only way to really treat this was surgery. And specifically, open heart cardiac bypass surgery. At this moment, everything seemed so surreal. And they had already set up a tentative surgery date for me if I was willing to do the surgery. And I responded, yes, let's do it. And I went out of that hospital that day with 4 weeks to go between that day and the surgery. And that's when my life really started to change. The first thing that I noticed as I came home and I started to adjust to this new diagnosis and this new surgery that was coming up was that I really had no control over what was happening. And I had lived most of my life thinking that I had some kind of control over this whole thing, that I could predict the outcome if I played the cards right. And what I really took away from this moment was, no, Sean, you don't hold the control in this. The only thing you have control over, Sean, is if you follow the doctor's orders or not. And the doctor had said that if I feel this coming on, this pain up here, which now had a name, by the way, it was angina or angina. If you feel this angina at any point, you stop what you're doing, you relax, sit down, and take a nitroglycerin pill. And if you have to take up to 3 of these nitroglycerin pills within 15 minutes and you still don't have relief, call the ER and go to the emergency room. And that was it. That was literally the only thing I had control over as I went home. The other piece of control that I had to deal with was the fact that I wanted to still do things. When I felt good, I still felt good, and I wanted to do things. I wanted to take out the garbage. I wanted to play with Aubrey. I wanted to do things, but the doctor had said absolutely not. And so I had to do something that was very difficult. I had to give up control and give up my need to do those things and allow other people to help me. I had to get used to saying, hey, can you get that book for me? Can you turn this TV on for me? Because I can't do it. I feel like I can, but I also know that I'm not supposed to. And those were two really difficult things that I had to not only process, but adapt to as I prepared for the surgery. Now, I went in for the surgery on May 2nd and walked into the ER. I was rolled into the ER and the operating room, and they had music playing, and it felt like a very relaxed atmosphere. I closed my eyes, and when I woke up, I was so groggy from all of the anesthesia and from the surgery itself that I really didn't have much recollection of anything. I had a minor setback the first night with a collapsed lung, but they were able to take care of that rather quickly. And on the first day, with some assistance, I was able to get up out of the chair and walk about 2 feet and sit into the bed, and then back again. Then, on day 3, I had been able to make it out of the room and about 25 feet down the hall, with some assistance, mind you, and then back into the room. By day 5, I had made it almost halfway around the entire floor of the hospital that I was staying in. Now, this was an incredible, if you think about the 5 days span of time, this was an incredibly fast, progressive recovery that was happening. And I had absolutely no idea that it would go this fast. At the end of day 5, I was getting excited because the nurses that had come in had said, tomorrow should be your day. Tomorrow should be the day you get to go home. It was a Sunday, and as long as the charts read well and everything looked good, they had expected me to be released. And so I went to sleep that night, and I did a lot of prayer, and I woke up very early, about 6 a.m. that Sunday morning. And I woke up really excited, and I woke up full of energy, and I woke up feeling better than I had the entire time I was in the hospital. I put on some music, and I decided today is going to be the day. When those nurses and doctors and physician assistants walk in, today's going to be the day that I'm going to walk around this entire floor by myself and tell them I was able to do it. And so I went into the bathroom, I primped my hair up so I'd look good, brushed my teeth, tidied up my gown a little bit, and I took off. And I walked down this long hall, and I remember seeing the people passing in and out of the different rooms. And I remember looking into the rooms and seeing the patients laying on the bed, some asleep, some awake, because it was so early in the morning. And I recall that definite moment when I had this profound experience, when I realized that throughout my life, the way I thought prayer would work wasn't the way it had worked for me. And it wasn't the way that I was witnessing as I took this walk. I saw prayers being answered by people who wore doctors' outfits, nurses' outfits, the uniforms of the healthcare industry, the caregivers. They were doing the work of God right in front of my eyes. They had done it with me. And at that moment, I realized that poem, the one that we always hear, that God is walking beside you. I realized God was there. In whatever form, the higher power was there with me through those human beings that took care of me, that operated on me, that saw me through that recovery process. Now I'm a little over 12 weeks out of surgery. I can really say that I have recovered well, but I think more than just the physical recovery, the emotional recovery has been incredible as well. A couple things that I am taking away, and still to this day I'm learning. Number one, don't ask why. Ask why not. I walked out of this procedure and I was in a get things done mode. And I'm telling you, for a guy who couldn't really get off of the couch and lay in a bed by himself, that was a pretty astounding feeling to have internally. And I carry that with me to this day because it's not about why can't I do this? Why should I do this? It's about why not? Why not just do it and get it over with and make it happen? The second thing I learned is that I really had to put my ego in check. Or maybe I should better say it this way: my ego was put in check. Dr. Wayne Dyer has a great acronym for the term ego, and he calls it edging God out. Wayne Dyer goes on to say this: your will is the ego part of you that believes you're separate from others, separate from what you'd like to accomplish or have, and separate from God. It also believes that you are your acquisitions, achievements, and accolades. This ego will wants you to constantly acquire evidence of your importance. On the other hand, your imagination is the concept of spirit within you. Wise, wise words, and words that I found to be incredibly true through my journey. Now, I also took away from this that I need to pay more attention, and I think we all need to pay attention to how we treat our bodies. It's great to live in the moment, but to pay attention to what we're putting in our bodies, how we're exercising them, and making sure that we give them the best opportunity to serve us well throughout our life. The final thing that I learned is that my surgeon was right. When I went to visit him for the initial consultation for the surgery, he said, "Sean, this surgery will change your life." And boy, was he right. It's changed my life in ways I could have never imagined. And so to every nurse, every doctor, every physician assistant, every caregiver out there, and every person who has ever experienced anything, even remotely close to this in their life, thank you. And for all of the rest of us, we have that call also. We have a purpose. What is yours? Amen. Thanks for joining us for Entry Point Faith's online virtual service. If you'd like to join us, we meet every week at Connor Prairie in Fishers, Indiana. Please join us next week when our message will be titled Back to School.